It's common to consider using reference for design and illustration much more often than for animation, but reference is really important for getting convincing motion and becoming a better animator. Using reference for animation isn't as straightforward as it is for design and illustration, so I want to cover not just where to get references, but also how to use them. I might not really need to say this, but for most things, there really isn't a better place to look than YouTube. If you search for something, the odds are good that someone will have uploaded a video of it at some point. This is also a good option because of how easy it is to adjust the speed of videos, and you can go through them frame by frame with these keys. Start a playlist of references you might find useful in the future, and check out channels dedicated to sharing them. One of the best that I'm aware of, at least for human reference, is the channel Endless Reference that I'll have linked below. You could also check photography and video sharing websites like Pexels, which are less likely to have what you need, but make downloading the reference very quick and convenient. I recommend using videos with normal speed if possible. A lot of animation reference and videos of actions and effects are put in slow motion, and while that can be helpful for seeing the small details in the motion, or if you are for whatever reason unable to skip frame by frame, it also makes it so that you can't see the actual speed and timing of the action, something really important that beginners especially tend to get wrong and struggle with. The other option is to get your own reference, probably of yourself. This is the best solution for when you need specific acting, like for dialogue. The mannerisms that you have when you do and say certain things can give your animation much more life. Whether you have a YouTube tab open for reference, or download and import the reference into your animation program, is up to you and what your setup and tools allow. I like the option of importing my reference because it means I can scrub through my animation and my reference at the same time. Now for how to use reference. If you copy frame by frame, the chances are good that you will end up with some awkwardness and inconsistency in the proportions of your subject, and the resulting almost rotoscoped look might not be what you're going for. Instead, what you can do first is identify in the video what you believe should become your keyframes. These keyframes are the important looking poses that clearly define the action taking place. To decide which frames of the reference these should be, think about how you would recreate the action with the fewest possible frames. Breakdown frames are next. I think of these as like sub or secondary keyframes. They show how the subject gets from one keyframe to another. They're important because this movement often doesn't happen in a simple straight path, but rather one that curves in some way, meaning the breakdown frame wouldn't be directly between the two keyframes that it connects. The movement may also have other intricacies to it that should be captured, like maybe a character wearing a scarf moves from one place to another, and when they do, their scarf drags behind. Another example is how, in this animation, I wanted to capture this hand reaching forward as they transition into the kick. Last of all is in-between frames, filling in the gaps and making the animation smooth. This is where you control the speed of the motion, adding more frames in places where the motion needs to slow down. As things slow to a stop in the reference, pay close attention to what they do, like how the hands here overshoot their stopping position before settling back into it. This reference is slower than what I want for my animation, so I'm also lessening the time between each keyframe and not adding as many in-betweens. You might notice that when you animate with reference, the style you're drawing with and the movement itself shifts to be a bit more realistic without you intending it. Doing at least a sketch of how you want your subject to look beforehand can help. This can also be broken out of if you focus on exaggerating the poses and motion you see. If a limb or the weight of something is pointing or leaning in a direction, make it go more in that direction. Making your poses more dramatic like this can give your animation an artistic touch and extra liveliness that the reference doesn't have. This takes practice, and is best practiced by studying how other animators have exaggerated some of the realism out of their animations. Your reference is not there for you to just copy, but to guide you. So if you think something might look better if it was tweaked or changed in some way, go ahead and try it. You can pull from the reference however much you want, similar to how I would go about using a reference for an illustration. I don't copy the reference, but take just an aspect of it. Here are a couple of my other animation videos. Thanks for watching!